Hi, thank you for joining us today. This is the first of a series of episodes on the secret of love. And I'm going to invite on the co-author of this book, The Secret of Love. The reason we wrote this book is because Christine Heath and I are marriage and family therapists. Chris is in Hawaii, and she is the director of the Hawaii Counseling and Education Center with several satellite offices. So I'm so happy that she's able to join us today. And throughout these monthly programs, I'm going to have a different topic for each of the episodes. I'll be inviting other guest speakers on. In a little while, you'll meet Chris. But I wanted to say that anyone who's listening today, if you have a question, a specific question about love, that it's a popular topic these days, then feel free to write to me at lori@threeprinciplestherapy.com. And you can write in your questions, and maybe I can use one of those questions as a monthly topic. And I want to welcome on Chris Heath. She's a very good friend of mine after writing together for over the course of 5 years. We feel like soul sisters now. And she's a wonderful colleague that I met in 1985. And here's Chris.
Aloha.
Aloha. Now I can hear. Okay. So, what would you like to share with our listening audience, Chris, over all the years that you've been working with so many clients and writing about the secret of love?
Well, I think the most powerful thing that people can learn is that love does not come from someone else. You can't get it, you can't lose it. In fact, you are it. So the secret of love is seeing that love comes from within us. It comes as a gift, really, with the opportunity that we have to be alive. So we have and we are that feeling of love. But what happens is that we have just begun to realize how we create our experience of life, our experience of love. And so before this time, it basically looked like love came from other people, that you could be loved or unlovable, that people could love and fall out of love or fall into love. But really, love is a state of being. It's a state of presence. When we're really present and experiencing our true self, what we experience is love. So we feel love for life, we feel love for our partner, we feel love for everything. And if we could stay in that feeling of love, the world would be a different place, wouldn't it? But we've yet to discover, most of the world has yet to discover that they're living in their own thinking about life. And their thinking is determined by their state of mind. So when people are in a really insecure or a really stressed state of mind, they get more negative thinking, and it looks like their life is what's creating that negative thinking. But it's really just an illusion. And it's like, so if you think of it like that, in Hawaii, we have a story about the bowl of light that the Hawaiian people share with us, that people are born with a bowl of light. And the bowl of light is what provides us with the wisdom we need to carry us on our journey through life. And that bowl of light is what reflects on the way that we move in life and what we do. So the bowl of light is a brilliant light, and we can see where we're going, and we can see how to live our life in a beautiful way. But on the way in our journey, we start picking up some rocks. And we pick up insecurity, and we pick up guilt, and we pick up resentments, and we pick up anger, and we pick up fear. And pretty soon, that bowl is so filled with rocks that we can't see the light anymore. Now, the trick is to see that all you need to do to get the light back is to huli the bowl. And huli is like, huli chicken is like rotisserie chicken. So you just turn the bowl over and you dump out the rocks and the light is there again. And that's really what love is that love is this beautiful feeling that cleans up our eyeballs so that we see a beautiful reality. And we experience this incredible magical feeling on the inside. When we're in that state of mind, we love the people around us. And we don't have a lot of negative thinking about them. And if we do, they kind of come and go. They just pass through. So that's the big secret, is that love doesn't come from your partner. They can't make you feel love and they can't take it away. But thought works in a manner that tricks us into thinking that people outside of us giveth and taketh away. But really, they don't do that at all. We each do that to ourselves. So I think that having people see that is one of the most important things that a human being can discover.
Absolutely. And it's so simple. The simplicity of it is, and yet it's so profound that we have seen people turn their relationships around just by understanding that underneath all of the thought rocks is really just a beautiful feeling. And that's why people have this experience of falling in and out of love, because it's all state of mind, mood related. When people are in lower states and lower moods, they're not seeing the beauty in one another. They're looking at all of the things they don't like. And I know we've talked about when people first meet that they don't have all of those judgmental thoughts going on. I'll let you speak to falling in love because you do that so well.
Well, I don't know I do it any better than you do, Lori. I think that's the most fun part of learning that love is inside of you all the time, is that you can fall in love with people you know over and over again. And frequently people come in to see me, and I'm sure to see you, that they've fallen out of love and there's no way back. That there's no way to come back from that experience. And what they're saying basically is, I can't change my thinking about what happened in the past, and so I'm not going to allow myself to feel love anymore. Now, when you put it like that, I said something like that to a client, and he said, well, when you put it like that, I said, well, that's the way it is that your experience of that person comes from you, not from what they've done to you. Now, if a person that you're in a relationship with does a lot of negative things and puts you in precarious situations, puts you in danger, or puts you in a situation where it's untenable for you, how you experience that and what you do from that will come from a feeling of love if you know that's inside of you. So love doesn't mean you just put up with anything, but love is something that when you're in that feeling of love, you have the best thinking about your life possible. So your best thinking might be, my husband just can't see that I'm not causing his unhappiness. And unless he sees that, he's going to keep beating me. So therefore, I'm going to have to get some distance from this man to protect myself. That would be common sense wisdom. That would come from love too, because you'd know that if he could see better, he would do better. And as long as he can't see better, he's at risk to you. So a lot of times people think we're talking about like, just forget everything and take a person as they are and just love them no matter what. Well, you can love them no matter what. You may not want to live with them. That may be a whole nother thing. But you can love them. And if you come from love, whatever your decision will be that's right for you will also be right for that person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's so interesting to me through all these years of working with clients that it's part of any relationship. What you're speaking to is that no matter what's going on, if you're coming from understanding and love, then you have access to a common sense and wisdom that will guide your next move. But so often people react in lower states of mind when they're out of sorts, and that reaction becomes this, ever evolving problem that just snowballs and becomes a bigger and bigger issue.
Mm-hmm.
If people just knew that, things would be so much easier for people and so much gentler, and they'd bounce right back into a loving state much easier. We don't have to stay stuck in whatever negative thought we're on and dwelling on it. So often people think that if they think about it enough, they'll find a solution. And that's really the opposite of what's going to be helpful. If they forget about it, then come back to whatever the issue is, it becomes obvious. So often it's just an obvious fix.
And the other thing that people do is they have kind of a set of ideas about how their partner should be after they've been in a relationship with them. When you first fall in love, you think, well, however they are is wonderful. Isn't that cute? And you just see them from this loving place. And then after you're with someone and your old negative thinking comes back, suddenly what they're doing that you thought was, isn't that cute, now looks like, oh my gosh, that is not cute. So the behavior is the same, right? It's just that your state of mind changes based on your own thinking about that. So that's the illusion. The big illusion that people get stuck in is that their experience is coming from the outside world. Their anger, their hurt, their upsetness is coming from other people, that they've been done wrong or that people on purpose have tried to hurt them. And my experience of people is there are very few people that walk around wanting to hurt other people. There's just not very many people like that. Occasionally you get someone who's really, really in a bad state of mind that maybe that's the best they can see to do is to make other people hurt so they feel camaraderie or something. But by and large, most people are walking around in their own thinking, trying to do the life the best they can see to do. And whatever they're doing is going to be based on how much they see their thinking impacts what they see in life. So when people are really insecure and they're doing a lot of negative thinking, nothing looks good, including their partner. So people don't make that connection between the state of mind they're in and the effect that has on their relationship. They really think that their partner is causing their upsetness, when really it's their own state of mind that's generating a problem and then trying to solve it by fixing that thing outside of it.
Boy, that changes everything.
Yeah.
It really changes everything. When people see that they're not blaming themselves by recognizing that is just the human condition. Everybody works that way. They're not unique that they're the cause of the problem. It's our own thinking across the board for everyone. That's the cause of the problem. Which isn't to say, like you were saying, that there aren't things that need to be taken care of, but you want to come together, the couple should come together in a quiet state of mind where they're not blaming anybody, they're not blaming the other person, they're not blaming themselves, they're feeling secure and feeling love and understanding that's when to come together to talk things over.
Mm-hmm.
Because solutions will occur to them that would never occur to them when they're in a reactive mode.
Mm-hmm. Right, and sometimes actually when they're not in that reactive mode, those things don't even come to mind. I mean, people will frequently say to us, well, we keep talking about this, but she keeps bringing it up, and I thought we were done with that and we could let it go, and she brought it up again, and he keeps doing the same thing over and over again. I think that he understands what he's doing that is upsetting me, and it keeps happening. And so when people say that, they don't see that what keeps happening is they keep having the same thought about their partner. They keep seeing that in their partner. And so there's something that's not happening in terms of really listening. And when people understand that the other person's just in a low mood and thinking about stuff they've thought about before, as a result of that negative space, they don't take it so seriously. They don't get caught up in, it's like, oh, that's okay. She'll be better in the morning. She's stressed, or, oh, he just needs a good night's sleep. So couples frequently have fights, especially at night before they go to bed. They're both tired, their mood's not that good. And so something triggers the other one and they get into this argument. And then they go to bed and they wake up the next morning and it's puzzling because they don't know what they were arguing about the night before. Doesn't seem like there's a problem there at all. And so some people even start looking like, what were we arguing? There must be something here. And they create something else to argue about. But just understanding that, seeing the innocence in the other person, that their thinking is tricking them and they're focusing on something they think needs to be fixed so they can be happy, gives people so much compassion because they start to see like, there but by the grace of God go I. It could be me getting caught up in my thinking and doing the same thing to them. So I just find that couples get over things faster when they understand how thought works. They understand that love is within them. They want to get back to that space so that they can really come up with better ideas of how to live their life or what they need to do differently so that they don't make things so insecure or make things so negative.
It's so easy to make things worse it's like throwing sand into a mechanism that would work fine on its own. Because of insecurity, people get this feeling of insecurity. Their ego pops up and they get feeling like they've got to one up the other person, or how dare that person criticize me? Look at all the stuff I have on them that I can toss back at them. Those thought rocks get tossed back and forth. And if people only learned, that's all we really need to teach, basically. But then there's so much else that comes from that. But the main thing is that if people only knew that they have love within themselves and they can get back to that feeling, focusing on what seems to be a problem is not going to get them back to where they need to be.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's so funny, isn't it? It seems like if we could figure out this problem, then we could feel love again. Then the other person would love us again. Then there'd be this good feeling, and it has nothing to do with it. It's like you're figuring out a problem. A, your thinking is creating the problem. And then B, you're using that same thinking to try to come up with a solution. And you'll just keep coming up with more of the same problem. So seeing things differently is better than figuring out what's wrong. Seeing things from a healthier, more positive state of mind allows you to have an experience that's better. And then you see together what maybe you need to do differently in your life so you don't get so stressed out. Like frequently couples will be going all the time and then come in and say, I don't know who this person is I'm married to. I don't even know him anymore. We don't talk. We don't share any time together. And then when we do, we argue. So it's really, it's over. And then So usually what I tell them, because they're pretty adamant usually at that point that that's the truth, I tell them that, well, maybe what you need to do is just learn how to get in the best state of mind you can. So whatever you decide to do, you can handle it more gracefully. Oh, that sounds like a good idea. And then they start to work on just understanding how their thinking creates how they feel. And suddenly their partner looks better.
Right.
It's like magic.
So true.
It's like magic. Suddenly, wow, oh, wow, this is great. And you start laughing together and you start having more moments of being in a beautiful feeling. And you kind of forget that you didn't want to be with them anymore. It just is like, oh, that was just because I was upset. And people understand that. Oh, I was just upset then. I was in a bad space then. But we only see it when we're out of it. When we're in it, it looks like it's real and true. So for me, it's just reminding people that everything they think isn't true. Everything they think isn't a good idea. It's just a thought they're having. And it'll disappear and another thought will come. And if you let go of the negative ones, then what comes from that deeper wisdom that we're all connected to, the energy of life that creates us, that's what love is. That's why they say God is love. That is a state of being, a state of presence in us, where we're just experiencing this unbelievably wonderful feeling. Now that's built into us. We just have to learn how not to try to make problems up and then try to solve them, because we end up never being quite happy enough. We never are satisfied. We're not ever in a place where we feel like we're getting our needs met.
Exactly. It reminds me of a client who came in this morning earlier today with her 1-year-old son. She wanted me to meet her baby. And so I was opening up the toy chest in my office, and he immediately went for the crayons. And she said, "Well, let's do the puzzle. Let's not do the crayons." So he burst out crying, and he was so easy to just lead him into the next thing, and the crying ended immediately. That baby is inside of all of us. The only thing different between that 1-year-old and adults is the 1-year-old doesn't have all this thinking, the negative thinking going on about, why would my mother not let me use crayons? 1-year-old isn't thinking about that. So they're on to the next moment. And as adults learn how to, their ability to be resilient increases as they understand more how the illusion of thought is creating their experience. And then they're able to settle down, not take their thinking so seriously, not take themselves so seriously or their partner so seriously. And they settle back down and get into more of that, you call it an aloha state of mind, or more of a vacation state of mind, and they fall back in love again. So if people just could learn to not be afraid of their negative states, their negative thoughts, they vanish so quickly. They don't get stuck there.
I think, Lori, that's another really important point, that just talking about feelings and emotions, that people think that love is a feeling that you can get or lose, that it's like a thing you can buy at the store, a jug of love and drink it, and you're like in a good place again. But it's just a state of being. And every feeling we have is being generated through our thought and our consciousness. So thought and awareness, our ability to be aware of thought, makes that thought come to life, see? And so if you have a thought and you don't know that it's just a thought, and it's a negative one, it's going to create a negative emotion. So everything that we feel is that we're really feeling our thoughts. We're really feeling the state of mind that we're in. That's what's generating our experience. So that's our experience, is how life looks to us, how it feels in here, what we're thinking. It's a package deal. It's all one. And it's getting back before that creation that we start to see how thought works. We start to see that what we're seeing in life is our thinking. And that what we're feeling is the indicator of the state of mind we're doing that. So to me, it's like if you're in a feeling that you don't want to live the rest of your life in, that's an indicator that beep, 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 insecure person thinking right now, do not take your thinking too seriously. And if people use their thinking like that, like it's just an indicator, then they can like stop themselves before they get too far into it. Like you're going to have your experiences, you're going to have your feelings, you're going to react to things. That's all normal. But the reaction is there to alert you that currently you're thinking about this in a way that's not going to be helpful. So then you let that go as best you can and do whatever you can to let it go. That's why people count to 10 or they go take a walk or they do that, because if you do that and you stop thinking about it, your health returns. That's that state, like the baby state, that there's a self-righting mechanism in all of us that returns us to being mentally healthy. Now, many people don't even know what mentally healthy is. Like I've got graduate students that never have a class on what mental well-being looks like in a human being. So they're so busy studying mental pathology that they don't know what mental well-being is. And frequently they end up losing their own mental well-being because they're focusing on all the negative in people and what the problems are. So mental well-being, as I understand it anyway, is when I'm in the best state of mind I can be. My thinking is going to be responsive to life. It's going to be appropriate to life. It's going to be looking at life as being half full instead of half empty. I'm going to be having new ideas and new thoughts come to mind of how I can do my life in a way that creates more of a good feeling. I'm going to feel connected to people. I'm going to feel loving towards others. I'm going to feel calm and peaceful. And I'm going to see how to like get back to that feeling, because that is built into us. You don't have to do anything to get that. But if you let go of the insecure negative thinking you're doing, you'll go back to that state. And that's where we have the best thinking we as a human being at this time in our life can have. We can only know what we can know, but that has the least contamination from our own personal little insecurities. And when we operate from wisdom, what happens is what's good for us also is good for everybody else. In the 12-step program, they call it good for one, good for all. That's what wisdom is. And when we come from wisdom, things look so much simpler and they look really easy. And that's kind of the trick to life. When life feels hard, when it's hard to get mentally healthy, you're doing it backwards. You have to see that it's already there. Love and mental health, they're synonymous. That's what we are. That's kind of, we talk about the 3 principles of mind, consciousness, and thought. And mind is really that energy that creates all things.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I was just told that we have 1 minute to go, so we're going to have to wrap things up. But this has been wonderful. So many points that you brought up, Chris, could be an episode in itself. I'd love to talk more about separate realities, how people see things so differently. I'd love to talk more about how to recognize the state of mind we're in, so that we can go back to that state of mental well-being that you spoke about, and using our feelings as a compass, as a guidepost when we're off course with our thinking and when it's time to settle down, so that we can improve and really maximize our resiliency. You can't improve resiliency because that's a natural, but we think our way away from it. So there's many episodes in everything that you brought to this first episode.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to our next episode. And tell your friends, tell people who can benefit from learning more about the secret of love. Thank you again. See you next time. Bye now.